I always thought that when you give everything for your family, your time, your money, your emotional bandwidth, they'd at least offer you a seat at the table. But I was wrong. And the moment I realized that truth, I wasn't standing outside in the cold. I was sitting alone in a hotel lobby I hadn't even booked for myself, staring at a group photo my family had posted, all smiles, with a stranger in my place. I'm Rachel. I'm 34. I don't have kids. I'm not married. I don't have a partner to split the bills with or to vent to after long days. But what I do have, or what I thought I had, was family. It started around Christmas. I'd been thinking about how we hadn't all been together in years. My older sister, Michelle, lives in Texas with her husband and 2 kids. My younger brother, Jason, just moved to Seattle and was figuring his life out, which apparently meant dating a new girl every 2 months and asking Mom for rent money. Mom and Dad still lived in the house we grew up in, but they were getting older and talking about downsizing. The idea of one big final family trip before things started changing even more felt urgent. I brought it up during our Zoom Christmas get-together. What if we did a family vacation this summer? Like something big, a full week somewhere we can relax, bond, laugh, before the kids get too old, before houses are sold, before it's too late. They all loved the idea. Michelle said she couldn't handle the planning. Jason said he was super down, but broke. Mom and Dad said they'd love it, but didn't want to be a financial burden. So I took it on. Flights, Airbnb, transportation, excursions, restaurant reservations, theme park passes for the kids, even matching shirts. I spent months researching, booking, confirming, and most of all, paying. All in, I spent $9,400. That was my savings. Money I'd quietly set aside from working weekends, freelancing, skipping my own vacations. But I told myself, this is worth it. Family is worth it. I was proud of what I'd put together. An oceanfront house in Destin, Florida. 4 bedrooms. Jet ski rentals, a dolphin tour, beach bonfire with a private chef. I sent out a full itinerary in a PDF I titled The Jefferson Family Summer Escape. Everyone replied with emojis and excitement. Except Jason. He didn't respond. At first I thought maybe he was just busy. Then I figured he'd just be one of those people who shows up and doesn't say much. That was fine. But 2 weeks before the trip, I got a message from Mom. Jason wants to bring his girlfriend. Do you think there's room? I was confused. His girlfriend? I hadn't even heard he was seeing someone seriously. I replied politely but firmly. There are only enough beds for the family. Adding one more would mean someone sleeping on the couch or changing the reservation. Mom wrote back. She's really sweet, Rach. They've been dating for almost a month now. Can you just see if there's a way? A month. They'd been dating for a month, and she wanted her to come on the family trip I'd spent months planning and paying for. I called Jason. Bro, he said, laughing. It's not a big deal. You're making this weird. Layla's awesome, and I figured it'd be chill. No, I said, calmly. It's not chill. I paid for everything. I booked everything based on head count. There's no room for extra people. He sighed. You're being kind of dramatic, don't you think? I hung up. That was a week before the trip. I didn't hear anything else. No one mentioned her again. So I assumed it had been settled. I arrived in Florida a day early to get everything set up, check in, do a grocery run, stock the fridge with drinks for the kids and wine for Michelle, print out welcome cards with everyone's names. I was nervous, but excited. The next day, one by one, everyone arrived. Mom and Dad, smiling and sunburned already from their layover in Tampa. Michelle with her kids tugging at her luggage. Jason late, as always. And right beside him, smiling like she belonged there, was Layla. She was tall, blonde, wearing a beach vibes only crop top, and carrying a Louis Vuitton duffel bag that probably cost more than my car. I stood frozen on the porch. Jason raised his arm in a half wave. "Hey, hope it's cool." "Hope it's cool?" Layla walked past me into the house like it was a resort lobby, gave me a passing, "Hi, you must be Rachel," and then asked where the rooms were. I looked at Mom. She avoided my eyes. Michelle mouthed, "I didn't know she was coming." I took a deep breath, walked into the house, and tried to hold it together. Maybe I could just get through the week. Maybe I could sleep on the pullout. Maybe it wouldn't turn into a disaster. I was wrong. I ended up sleeping on the pullout. It was the only option. The bedrooms had been planned perfectly. Mom and Dad in the master suite, Michelle and her husband in the second room, the kids bunking in the third, and me in the cozy little room upstairs I had picked for myself. That room now belonged to Layla. Jason and Layla claimed it without hesitation, like it was obvious. "Oh, this one has the best view," Layla said, tossing her bag on the bed. "We'll take this one." And Jason just shrugged, flashing me his trademark smirk, like this was some kind of inside joke, as if I'd offered it to them. I didn't argue, not in front of everyone, not yet. Instead, I dragged the sleeper sofa open in the main living room. The mattress was thin and squeaked every time I shifted. The air from the AC vent blew directly on my face all night. I barely slept. But I didn't say anything. Because that's what I'd always done. Keep the peace, play the role of cool aunt and supportive sister, the one who didn't cause waves. But inside, I was unraveling. By day 2, Layla had become the unofficial host of the entire trip. She took selfies constantly, posted boomerangs of mimosas with captions like "Fam time with the in-laws." She inserted herself into every activity as though she belonged. She took the front seat in the rental van when we drove to the marina. She even started planning changes to the itinerary I had created, suggesting we skip the dolphin tour because that sounds kinda boring. And everyone just went along with it. I watched as my mom giggled at Layla's stories, as my dad helped her carry beach chairs, as Michelle asked her for skincare tips. Even the kids seemed to like her. No one seemed to care or remember that I had made this entire week possible. That night, during dinner at a seaside restaurant I had made reservations for 3 months in advance, I finally cracked. We were all seated around a long wooden table. I'd paid the deposit. I'd even arranged for a surprise birthday cake for my mom to be brought out, even though her birthday was technically next week. The waiter set it down. Everyone cheered, and my mom looked thrilled. Then Layla leaned over and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Oh, Jason told me you love red velvet. I made him promise we'd get a cake for you sometime this week." I blinked. She was taking credit for the cake? Jason gave her a grin and a side hug like she was some thoughtful angel. And that was it. I stood up. "I need some air," I said quickly, pushing back from the table. My chair scraped loudly, making everyone pause. I walked outside and leaned against the railing, staring out at the dark waves crashing below. My throat burned. My chest felt tight. I wasn't sure if I was angry, embarrassed, or just tired. A few minutes later, Michelle followed me out. "Hey," she said softly, wrapping her cardigan tighter around herself. "You okay?" I forced a laugh. "Yeah, just needed a minute." She hesitated. "Look, I didn't know she was coming, And I definitely didn't know they'd take your room. That wasn't cool. I shrugged. It's not about the room anymore. What is it then? I turned to her. I spent almost $10,000 on this trip. I did everything. Every detail. And it's like I don't even exist. No one said thank you. No one asked how I was doing. They all just handed her my place and moved on. Michelle looked down. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have said something. But you didn't. She flinched, then nodded. You're right. I let the silence sit between us for a while. Then I said, do you know what room they gave me when we were kids? The attic. Every vacation, I got the leftover space. I never complained. I told myself it didn't matter because I was with family. But now, I'm 34. I paid for the damn house, and I'm still on the pullout. Michelle didn't respond. Eventually, we went back inside. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. Layla toasted Mom. Jason cracked jokes. The kids fell asleep at the table. I felt like a ghost in my own vacation. That night, I didn't sleep. The next morning, I woke up early, before anyone else, and made myself coffee. I sat on the deck and watched the sun rise over the water. For a brief moment, it felt like maybe this was still worth it. Maybe this was just a rocky start. Then I opened Instagram. Layla had posted a carousel of photos. The caption read, "Family is what you make it. So lucky to be part of something this beautiful. #blessed #vacation vibes." And in the photos, there I wasn't. She had cropped me out. In one of them, it was painfully obvious. Half my arm was still in the corner, awkwardly sliced off like I didn't fit. That's when it hit me. I didn't. I wasn't a guest anymore. I wasn't even a member of the group. I was the invisible sponsor. And I was done. After seeing that Instagram post, something inside me hardened. It wasn't just the picture. It wasn't even the caption. It was the realization that this trip was never about us anymore. It was about performance, optics, inclusion, but only for those who played along. And clearly, I didn't fit the aesthetic. I sat in silence for another hour while the house slowly came to life. I could hear the kids running upstairs, Michelle calling for coffee, Jason laughing, Layla's voice rising above them all, always in control, always the center of the stage. By the time I walked back inside, the house was buzzing. Layla was wearing one of my hats. I froze in the doorway. It was my wide-brimmed sun hat, the one I'd bought specifically for this trip. I'd left it near the door, and now it was on her head like it had always been hers. She noticed me staring and smiled, tilting it playfully. "This is so cute, right? Hope you don't mind. I didn't bring one, and the sun's brutal." I stared at her, then looked at Jason, who was helping her apply sunscreen. He didn't say a word, didn't even blink. That was it. I walked to the center of the room and clapped my hands once, loud and sharp. Everyone turned. "Family meeting," I said. "Right now." A few chuckled awkwardly. My dad looked up from his crossword. "Honey, what's going on?" I took a deep breath. "I've been quiet. I've been patient. But I'm done." Jason scoffed. "Okay, drama queen. What's this about?" I turned to face him fully. "You brought your girlfriend on a trip I paid for without asking. You took the room I reserved for myself. You let her change the plans I created. And now she's walking around in wearing my stuff and posting about her new family while cropping me out of photos." Silence. Layla blinked. "Whoa, okay. I didn't mean..." I'm not finished. My voice was shaking, but I didn't stop. I spent $400 on this trip. I covered the house, the flights, the rental car, the activities, the meals. I did that because I love this family. I wanted us to have something special. But somehow, I've become the outsider. I've been ignored, dismissed, and now erased. And I'm not doing it anymore. Michelle looked stunned. My mom's mouth was slightly open. Jason stepped forward. You're overreacting. Layla didn't do anything wrong. She took my place, I snapped. And you let her. Layla held up her hands. I thought we were just vibing. I didn't realize there were rules. I looked at her, my tone cold. You weren't invited. You weren't supposed to be here. And if you'd had any sense of decency, you would have made space for the person who paid for all of this. My dad stood up then. Okay, let's all take a breath. No, I said firmly. No more breaths. No more pretending this is fine. Then I turned and walked to my room, or what used to be mine. I pushed the door open. Layla's suitcase sat on the floor, her makeup bag on the vanity. I gathered everything, every single item, dumped them into the hallway. Then I went to the pullout, grabbed my own bag, and began to pack. Jason stormed in. Are you serious? I zipped my suitcase calmly. Dead serious. You're ruining the trip. I turned to him. No, you ruined the trip when you decided your girlfriend's comfort mattered more than your sister's respect. For the first time, he looked unsure. I brushed past him, walked down the hall and out to the porch. Everyone was still in the living room, shell-shocked. I'm going to a hotel, I said. Enjoy the rest of the week, but don't expect me to cover anything else. The card I used is canceled. The reservations are under my name, and I'll be calling to remove myself from all of them. My mom stood up. Wait, can't we talk? I looked at her. You didn't say a word when they gave my room away. You laughed with Layla, praised her, let her walk all over me. I'm tired, Mom. I'm really tired. And then I walked out the door. The hotel I found was 20 minutes down the coast. Nothing fancy, just a quiet inn tucked behind a line of weathered dunes, its whitewashed exterior glowing soft under the early evening light. When I checked in, the receptionist asked if I was on vacation. I said no, not really. Just needed some space. I think she saw it in my eyes. Whatever storm had chased me here. The room was small but clean. The kind of place with seashell-shaped soaps and faded curtains. I dropped my bag, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in days, no one was talking over me. No laughter I had to fake. No cold shoulders, no Layla. Just silence. It hit me then, how alone I felt. Not because I left, but because I had to. I pulled out my phone. Missed calls. 2 from Michelle, 1 from my dad. A few texts. Michelle's. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. Dad. Call me, please. Jason? Nothing. Layla? Of course not. I put the phone down and cried for the first time since the confrontation. It wasn't just about the money or the room. It was about something deeper. I had bent over backward my whole life to be the glue in the family, the organizer, the planner, the fixer, and when I finally asked for space, to be seen, they gave it away without a second thought. The next day I walked the beach alone. The ocean was calm, waves curling in rhythmic sighs. I sat on the sand, watching kids build castles, couples stroll hand in hand. I thought about my childhood vacations, how I used to love these trips, back when family still meant safety. Around noon, Michelle called again. I picked up. "Hey," she said quietly. "Hi. You okay?" "Not really," she sighed. "Look, I'm not defending them. What happened was messed up, but I think they just didn't get it. Not like you think." "That's the problem," I said. "They never get it." There was a pause. Then she said, "Jason's sulking. Layla's trying to play the victim now, like you yelled at her for no reason. Mom's pretending everything's fine. But Dad's different." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked hurt, like he really got it this time. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to believe her, but it was hard. Michelle continued, "He wants to come see you. Just talk. No one else." I hesitated. And then I said, "Okay." That evening, Dad came to the hotel. He knocked once, then waited, like he wasn't sure I'd even answer. I let him in. He looked older than he did just 2 days ago. Tired. Guilt weighed on his features. "I'm not here to excuse anything," he said. "I just want to listen." So I talked. I told him about how I'd planned for months, how excited I'd been to have time with the family, how I'd chosen that room specifically to give myself a view of the ocean, some quiet, how I'd felt invisible the moment we arrived, and how Layla's presence felt like a wedge I never invited. He nodded through all of it, eyes never leaving mine. "I didn't speak up," he said. "I saw what was happening, and I stayed quiet because I didn't want to make waves. I thought, maybe you'd let it go." I laughed bitterly. "I always let it go. That's the problem." He winced. Then he said the words I didn't expect. "You were right to leave, and I'm proud of you for doing it." That broke me. I cried again, this time in front of him. He reached out, held my hand. For the first time in years, I felt like someone in my family saw me. Later that night, he drove me to dinner. Just the two of us. We ate fresh seafood on a quiet deck overlooking the water. Talked about everything except Jason. Except Layla. At one point he said, "I want to pay you back for the trip." I shook my head. "It's not about the money." "I know," he replied, "but I want you to know your efforts weren't taken for granted. Not by me." I swallowed hard. We spent hours just sitting there, like father and daughter, not just members of a group photo. Back at the hotel, he hugged me before leaving. "I'll talk to the rest," he said. "They owe you apologies. Real ones." "I'm not sure I want them." "That's okay. Take your time." When he left, I sat outside my room and looked at the stars. The kind of stars you only see near the ocean, unfiltered, alive. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. But I did feel lighter. For the first time in a long time, I had chosen myself. A week later, I returned home. Not to the same version of myself that left, but to someone slightly weathered and far more awake. The drive back was quiet. Just music humming low and a sense of bittersweet calm. I hadn't heard from Jason yet. Michelle had been checking in daily, sending me small updates. Mom apparently still believed everything could be fixed with a family dinner. Jason, meanwhile, was giving me space, which probably meant he was avoiding responsibility. Layla, thankfully, had gone back home. When I pulled into my driveway, I paused for a long moment before getting out. Everything looked the same, but I had changed. The next morning, I found an envelope taped to my front door. My name on the front. Jason's handwriting. I opened it slowly. "Hey, I'm not sure you want to hear from me, but I owe you more than an apology. I owe you the truth. I didn't fight for you, and I should have. I let Layla twist things, made excuses, and watched you slip away from the very thing you made happen. I kept thinking you'd just let it slide like always. But this time, you didn't. And it made me see how unfair I've been for years. I'm sorry. You deserved better than what we gave you. If you ever feel like talking, I'll be here. Jason. It was the most honest thing he'd said in years. I didn't text him back. Not right away. I folded the letter and placed it in my drawer, next to old photos of us at the lake as kids, when things were simple. A week passed, then two. I began seeing a therapist, started yoga, picked up a side project I'd been postponing for months. I didn't cut my family off entirely, but I stopped being the emotional janitor. I visited Michelle for coffee. She hugged me tight. "Feels like you finally came home," she said. Maybe I did. One Sunday afternoon, Jason showed up on my porch. He stood there holding a photo frame. It was from the trip I'd planned, one of the few pictures taken before everything went wrong. We were all on the beach. I was in the middle, smiling. Jason was laughing beside me. Even Layla was off to the side, holding a drink. He handed it to me. "I asked Dad for a copy," he said, "to remind myself who really brought us there." I didn't say anything. I just stared at the photo for a long time. Then I said, "Sit." He did. We talked for 3 hours. He didn't try to defend Layla or himself. He admitted he'd become too used to taking and never giving back. He said he didn't want to lose the only sibling who'd always showed up for him. "I don't expect things to go back to normal," he said. "I just hope we can start over." "I don't know what normal is anymore," I replied. "But I think starting over sounds okay." He smiled, and for the first time, I saw something real behind his eyes. Months later, we planned a new trip. Smaller. Just me, Jason, Michelle, and Dad. Mom chose to stay back with Layla. This time, we booked together. We split costs. And when it came to rooms, Jason said, "You pick first." I chose the Ocean View Suite. And when I stepped into that room, I opened the window, let the breeze in, and whispered, "This one's mine." Because now I knew. I was never asking to be the favorite, just to be respected, seen, chosen. And finally, I had chosen myself first.